Hey everyone! So a quick update on what we've been doing this fall. We've got our peppers dug up and overwintering inside. We're getting our garlic planted. We plant our big ones and big cloves and we save the small ones. When it comes to garlic, the bigger the clove you plant, the bigger the bulb you'll get. And the small ones, we just end up eating them. Our perennial cover crop is doing great. I believe this is a Desico broccoli. Some of my tags got switched because of my little ones. But it's definitely a broccoli. But as you can see, there's no nutritional deficiencies. There's no water problems with the cover crop being so close to it. You can see the leaf on the bottom's a different color. Broccoli and Brassica family will shed their bottom leaves. So a lot of times they will fall and give themselves like a little elbow they perch on, and that just helps hold them up because their canopy is so big, and they do get really big and they can be wobbly. There are some hybrid versions that don't do that, but the garden is finally big enough to start eating from it again, which I'm really excited about. We had kind of a lull. I should have gotten things in quicker, and I'm going to do better about it next year. I'm really excited about like the thought of relay cropping. When one thing comes out, you already have something ready to go in, whether that be a seed or a start. And the pak choi, we've been eating it. I don't really love it. It's okay. I'm not sure I'll grow it next year. I'm going to have to find something that everyone likes. I think it's okay. No one else really likes it. It's kind of a stir-fry green, kind of like bok choy. But pak choi, you can eat it raw. We don't really like it raw. But we haven't really liked it cooked either, to be honest. So I'm trying to find a recipe that we like. But tonight, we're doing stir fry. And pak choi is an Asian green, so we are going to get that in our stir fry, and hopefully I'll like it that way. One thing I love about stir fry and pot pies and shepherd's pies is they're really great for small garden harvests. So you can see I have like one pak choi head, a little bit of kale. I have like 2 bush bean plants here. We're getting the last of the beans off of them. So I really like any meal that allows me to have just a little bit of handfuls of everything, because a lot of times that's how the home garden is. You know, we're not planting a 50-foot row of beans. We're not planting, 30 of one kind of variety, and different varieties come to fruition at different times. We are expanding the garden. I'm excited to show you guys that, but that's going to be next year. So maybe we'll be able to do something like that next year. But as for right now, I'll take all the small garden harvests I can get. One of my favorite things to grow this year was this Thai basil. I loved that when it bloomed, it actually became stronger, the flavor. It didn't turn bitter, even though it was a basil. It was amazing for the pollinators. They loved it, and it was so pretty. That beautiful purple flower and that bright green foliage. We were talking about just growing like a wall of it, just ornamentally, because it's beautiful and for the pollinators. And we use it a little bit. It's a great replacement for fennel. So I'll use it in stir-fry sausage, or I'll actually use it when I make sausage. And that's been really well, because fennel doesn't grow awesome down here in the south. It actually perennializes, and you get like this giant fennel tree. But either way, I really like the Thai basil better. And you can see our pepper plants are out on the porch. I've been moving these big pots in and out. They are going dormant. Pepper plants are trees. They'll just go dormant for the winter. And then the lemongrass. So I've only tried it in stir fry and of course in teas, but we've made some lemongrass oil and we really, really like it in our stir fry. So we bought more seeds to do that next year. But I am not exactly sure how to preserve this. We will have to do some research and see, because I only have really used the leaves for tea or soup and then the inside for like stir fry. So I'm not really sure how to preserve that. I guess dry it. But they're really, really long, so you couldn't put it in a dehydrator or something. If anybody knows, put something in the comments. I'd love to try something. And we are doing a pork stir fry tonight, so we are going to chop up this pork, and then we will get it in the pan. Oh, I just do salt and pepper on it, but I cook it on a high heat to where it gets like a nice crispness. And pork has a lot of fat, so it usually doesn't stick too badly. And it works really well. And then I'll put the veggies in after with the sauce, and that is going to be a quick dinner for us. And all we had to really buy was a piece of pork that we had in the freezer from a while ago. We found it on sale. And I like the nice marbling when I do like a sticky pork. You can see we'll do just salt and pepper. I don't love doing kitchen videos, but I also think it's really sometimes hard to see how the garden comes to the table. So I'm trying to do more kitchen videos for you guys. But normally my kitchen is kind of a crazy place because it's like the central part of where everyone is, all the homeschool, all the little kids driving trucks on the floor, and all my preserving, and also all the meals that we make. So it ends up being kind of the craziest place. So it's harder to set the camera up, but I'm going to try and get better about that. With our veggies, we make sure we wash them. And we can see I have a little bit of bug damage, so I want to make sure I wash them really well. So I'm taking it all apart, and then we will get them soaking. And normally you can soak them in some salt water, and that will make any bugs that are like inside the stems come out. And then we will send that end piece to our bunnies, and they will greatly appreciate it. So after we get our veggies washed, and we will get them in the pan next. How I like to cut my kale, if I'm, these are small enough I don't take them off the rib, which is that middle part, but I'll roll them, then I'll cut them lengthwise, and then I'll chop them in little pieces. And this seems to be the best way for my kids, to where they almost think it's like some fresh herbs or spices. I don't tend to fuss too much about the kale being in there. Mostly my littlest ones. They're still acquiring their bitter taste buds and getting those all settled. When my oldest one was little, we worked really hard on making sure she had the taste buds for things that were bitter, because we wanted her to like her veggies. And then our little boys came along, and we're still working on that with them. So we can see we have some of our tiny garlic, and that's one thing about tiny garlic, is it's sometimes hard to peel. And we've got our walking onions. These are what we harvested probably end of July. They're holding up okay in storage. I really have kind of come to realize that walking onions just aren't for storage at all. They're better to just go pull them when you need them. Otherwise, leave them out there. They do split, so you'll get like a big onion and a little onion. You can see in this one there's like a split, and you can see there's a big and a little one. But that's fine. It doesn't really bother us too much. We really love the flavor of the walking onion. It's kind of like a red onion and a shallot had a baby. They're really delicious. And we never end up using a whole onion anyway. I usually have half an onion in the refrigerator, and nobody likes that. So I like the size that they are. I'll probably use 2 per meal, and I don't have any leftovers, and that's great. And then we had more snack peppers this year than bell peppers. I had a hard time germinating our bell peppers. Perhaps my seeds just are getting a little old. So we bought new seeds for next year. I'm excited to grow them. But the snack peppers this year produced really well. And I really like the flavor of them. So as much as they're kind of a pain in the butt to cut, we had so many that they were wonderful. We freeze-dried a bunch. So when I do use the freeze-dried ones, I just shake them out, and I really, really loved that. And I will say my little ones prefer the flavor of the snack pepper over the flavor of the bell pepper. And also, all we're able to get off of them right now, because of it being so cool, is the green peppers. So between whether it's tomatoes or peppers or something like that has to like ripen, heat has a lot to do with it. So because it is so cool outside, as much as the plant is getting enough light per day, the coolness of the temperature will keep the plant from ripening the fruit, because it thinks it is too cold for it to drop any seed, for the seed to germinate, because peppers like it very, very warm and humid. So therefore they won't ripen. And if they, like a tomato, if it hasn't started to ripen, even though you bring it inside, it's just not going to. So green peppers are just fine with us. Moving on to our green beans. These were, I think, a Blue Lake bush bean. They produced okay. My daughter doesn't like the fact that the ends have like little tails on them, not the part that attaches to the plant, the other part. So I am popping off both sides so that she doesn't mind eating them. I always think it's funny, some people will chop the ends off of their green beans and some people just snap them. I prefer to snap them, even though I have a knife right there. It's just how we do it. And we prefer more of like a French fillet bean compared to the big chunky bean. We bought greasy beans one time up in North Carolina, and they're a very meaty, almost like a green bean plus like a stewed bean or like a dry bean. They were creamy and they were good, but it was very, very different than like a green bean like this. So we're looking for some varieties of more of like a French fillet bean. If you have any of your favorites, I would love for you to put it in the comments so that I can look into them to see if they grow well in our area, because so far we have not been happy with the green bean varieties that we've grown thus far. And then for our Thai basil, so I'll cut the Thai basil very similarly that I do the kale, kind of roll it up and chop it, and then I'll put it in the sauce bowl. So I'll put the Thai basil and the lemongrass. You kind of have to peel off the first couple layers to get to the good stuff, and then I will chop that up too, put it in there, and then we will do, a lot of times we do like liquid aminos or coconut aminos. I happen to find a really good price on real fermented soy sauce, so still a good product. We are going to be using that. So we'll have soy sauce, we'll have a little bit of brown sugar. I make my own brown sugar. It's just basically white sugar, and I use blackstrap molasses because I can't find a brown sugar that is up to quality. So we use blackstrap molasses for those extra minerals, and we like the flavor of it better. And then we will do just a little bit of something spicy, whether that be like a Thai chili paste or something into our sauce. We'll whip that all together, and that goes in after all the veggies cook. And then we'll put a little arrowroot powder in it, let it thicken, and that will be dinner. Now, something else that we did was go get pumpkins. So there's a farm near us that lets you cut the pumpkins out of the field, and we really, really love that. I have not yet figured out how to grow pumpkins or really any squash without using some kind of deterrent for squash bugs and vine borers. You know, in the South, we just have them so bad. So I'm thinking I'm going to insect netting my whole thing next year because I just hate putting sprays out. But I do appreciate that we can pull our pumpkins from the vine. All the kids got to pick one out, and that was really fun and exciting. We did a corn maze, and you know, it's October here in the South, so we had ices. Even though it's, you know, cold enough for sweaters, it's still warm enough that you don't mind having an icy for a treat. This is one of our favorite farms. This is actually where we come to pick strawberries, and we picked about 10 gallons of strawberries this year from this farm. Hopefully next year our strawberries will be producing enough. But we have fertilized our strawberries for runners. So we are going to actually create an entire garden plot, about 40 feet of just strawberries, and hopefully we'll be able to do our own strawberries. As far as pumpkins go, though, I think we will still be coming back here for pumpkins every year. We really enjoy this farm. And then this week we have been having a lot of homeschooling. Our big girl is in 4th grade. We're doing a zoology unit. It's been a lot of fun. She decided to do a report on the cuttlefish. We also went back to North Carolina to get more apples. We got storage apples this time. These are Rome. They are not the sweetest apples, but they store really well. We were able to get some nice small ones. I prefer small apples because my children will actually finish them if they're small. But these are really, really juicy apples. So we're really happy with them. We also bought a new refrigerator. So we just needed an overflow fridge for a lot of different reasons. For apples, it stores apples ideally. And we just needed things like extra eggs, stuff from the garden that was still trickling in. And we have about 3 bushels of apples in here. Some of them are cold apples. Some of them are the fresh ones that we picked, and you can see my children and all the half-eaten apples because they were too big. They drive me crazy. Don't worry, I'll have them finish those apples. And then we made some more apple butter. I really like these Tatler lids. I'm going to do a video on how to use them, and it's a little different process, but I really like them. Since I've been using them correctly, I have not had any seal failures at all. And then of course, we had to give our lovely bunnies a quick snack. Apple is probably their favorite treat. It always has been. So they love autumn and apple season. And a lot of times they will get some of the apple scraps and cores. But my little guy stuck his whole apple up there for her. He's so sweet. But it is one of their favorites. And the first round of radishes is ready. And I'm excited that we got to get them because I saw a mouse in the garden, which I am trying to figure out how to deal with because it's quite elusive. And I have not quite been able to trap it. And the big canopy of all the brassicas has made it really hard to see where he is. And also we had date night. So we went to a plant store because that's what makes me happy. But it was really cool. It's this building where the roof had collapsed in. So they made it into a giant greenhouse, basically. It's like an open air plant place. They had, just plants everywhere, and it was just like really simple. It's an old building, and they kind of just turned it into a garden center. They had a lot of shade cloth up, as you can see, and they hooked it all together for a lot of the plants, and a lot of berry trees and grapes and ornamental things. Not a ton of food. They had some cabbages and lettuce there, but I found, after I walked the whole thing, was horsetail. So I'm really excited about this plant because I was having a hard time finding it. And it does look really rough because it is. It clearly was in a pot way too long and needs to be up potted or put in the ground. But this is great for compost. So we're just slowly getting into like Korean natural farming methods and things like that. And horsetail is a very vigorous grower. So it's really great to make a lot of extracts and teas and things like that for the garden. Or even just chop it and put it in the compost that you're making, kind of like I do with my comfrey. Very similar, adds minerals, adds all kinds of really good stuff. But it is kind of a bog plant, so I have to put it in a place. I wanted to put it next to my compost, but I don't know if that's the best spot. We will have to see. But it does tend to be a bully. It can take over. But the fact that we're chopping it back for compost, I think we'll be able to keep it in check. And he has been such a good boy. He's been patrolling our garden for that mouse, trying to figure out where it is without squishing anything. Cauliflower is starting to head. Chard and kale are looking really great. The cabbage is starting to head. And I finally pulled our massive rutabagas, and they are delicious. Next week, I will show you what we did with a bunch of the rutabagas. And here's more of the pak choi and the chamomile. It is blooming so much. And of course, all the lettuce is happy in the cool weather, and the spinach. I think that's my favorite thing to grow in the green stalk. And the peas are blooming. They got really tall before they started blooming, but we're finally getting some snow peas first. They've been delicious, not enough to put in anything. The children keep eating them. And our garlic, we've got some garlic and some onions coming up that have taken. And our compost tea. So we make compost tea weekly. I try and use rainwater, but a lot of times I have to off-gas some water from our hose, which does have chlorine in it. But if I off-gas it, it's at least a better product. I like to take this paint strainer bag, just because it's a good size, it's a good micron of the netting, and I'll put some homemade compost in it. This is some that's still maturing, but it'll work for now. You can see it's still pretty mulchy, but we'll put our homemade compost in it. I do about 2 large handfuls, and then we will use some worm castings. Coast & Maine is probably my favorite brand of if I have to buy something in a bag. This is cow manure, and we'll also use chicken manure. This is from a local grass-fed dairy that is right around the corner from us, and they are very prudent about how they keep their pastures and what they use and about their animals. So I do feel safe using their products. So I'll put it in the off-gas water. I squish it around to try and get as much of the small microorganisms into the water as possible. We will then feed the fungi and the bacteria. I don't use molasses. I don't like to feed the bacteria quite that much. I prefer to have a heavier fungi population. We don't use a lot of wood chips or anything in our garden, so I always try and like lean more towards the fungi. So this fish hydrolysate is great. No, it's not a fish emulsion. This is fish hydrolysate, so it actually has the whole fish in it. So it has all the oils, and the oils are what's going to feed your fungi. And then this is a concoction, kind of the Korean natural farming thing, like I was saying. It's brown sugar fermented with my comfrey leaves and cleavers. Now, cleavers grow vigorously in my area, and that's why I use them. If they don't grow in your area, that's probably not what you want to use. And that we use just a couple tablespoons of that. We've had that for quite a long time. I just keep it in the fridge. Then we have our pump, which is just an aquarium pump. However, it's not rated for outside, so we do keep it covered. And then we just let the oxygen go for 24 hours. Thank you guys so much for taking an interest in what we do. I will be bringing you a video next week. I'm going to try and get one out every week. And just a little sneak peek is we have radishes up, and we have had a hard frost, 3 nights of a hard frost. So let me show you what varieties in our garden that we held up the best. I'm excited to bring you that next week. We'll see you then.